Good morning, YouTube family. And what a beautiful morning it is here on the Southern Homestead. It's bright and early in the morning. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my recipe for my homemade fire cider. But before we get to that, there are a few things I need to do around the homestead. I'm out here in the apothecary, and one of the first things I need to do today is gather up all of my cayenne peppers that I had laying out on my drying racks here behind me. And they've been here for probably, I would guess, 4 to 5 weeks now, and they are finally completely dry. So I have my trusty mason jar here, and I'm gonna go ahead and load them up in the jar, and that's where they'll stay until we need them. So I could go ahead and grind them all up now into a powder, but honestly, I just think they're pretty in the jar. And I already have plenty of ground cayenne pepper right now that I can use. So these will just sit on the shelves next to all of my canned goods and look pretty until I need them. If you don't know about this herb, this is a powerhouse herb that can be used to help stimulate blood circulation. So if you're having problems with circulation in your lower legs or in your feet, this one's going to be for you. So this is a half-gallon sized mason jar, and it is completely full of my dehydrated cayenne peppers. While I'm out here, I'm also going to check on my sunflowers that I had harvested several weeks back, and I hung them out to dry here so that I could harvest the sunflower seeds. So I'm going to check on those. So here is my small bundle of sunflowers that I harvested several weeks back, and I just tied them up and hung them up to dry. And as you can see, they are drying out quite nicely. I'm thinking that we're probably ready to go ahead and harvest the seeds off of the flower head. I'm just sitting out here enjoying this beautiful, gorgeous weather. It's not always this nice in August, but I have to say it's been an absolutely perfect day. So I'm gonna take advantage of this nice, cool weather, and I'm sitting on the porch with all of my sunflowers here, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of the sunflower seeds from the head of the flower. We try to do as much seed saving as possible here on the homestead for 2 reasons. Number one is the most obvious reason, and that's to save money. So we avoid having to buy seeds year after year. The second reason is if it grew well on your property, then why not save the seeds from that variety and grow it again, because you know that it's going to do well. So I like to, if it's like an eggplant, I'll take the prettiest, largest eggplant from the harvest, and then I'll dry that out and save the seeds. In this case, it doesn't really matter. I just grabbed a handful of different varieties of my sunflowers, and then I'm just going to get a bunch of seeds from each one. And that's it. These are our sunflowers for 2026. So before we start our herbal remedy, our fire cider, there are a few things I need to grab from the garden. One of the key ingredients that goes into our fire cider recipe is going to be heat, spicy heat. And a couple of things that I grow here in my garden are just perfect. So I'm going to grab some cayenne pepper, which I have a ton of. And then I'm also going to grab some fresh jalapeno peppers. There are literally hundreds upon hundreds of recipes for fire cider out there on the internet. And, you know, just find one you like and stick with it. You can take a recipe, a base recipe, and then add your own spin on it, which is what I tend to do. And I'm going to add some fresh herbs into my fire cider. So while I'm out here in the garden, I'm going to go ahead and pick me some fresh rosemary. Traditionally, when you make your fire cider, you have all your ingredients and you put them into the mason jar and you cover with apple cider vinegar. And then it has to sit anywhere from 4 weeks to several months before it's ready to consume. I am going to do that version of the recipe, but I'm also going to do a separate recipe with a twist. So to get started, I have gathered all of my ingredients, and that is going to be my raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. That's very important. You don't want to get a pasteurized apple cider vinegar. I'm also going to use the basic recipe, which involves horseradish, turmeric, ginger, and then jalapeno peppers and some cayenne peppers. I'm also adding some rosemary into mine. I'm going to add some orange slices and lemon slices into mine, and some garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and get some orange slices going here. I've got my empty mason jar. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of orange slices down at the bottom. I'm going to slice some jalapenos. And I'm leaving the seeds in. Ooh, these are strong. Fresh right out of the garden. So next, I have about 5 cloves of garlic. I'm going to peel them and just gently crush them and throw them into the jar. The next few ingredients that I'm going to add is going to be some fresh turmeric, which I have here, some fresh ginger, and some fresh horseradish root. I'm just going to slice these up. I'm not going to be worried about the peelings at all. I am going to make sure that they're clean. We aren't going to be eating the vegetables themselves. We're going to be straining them out when it's ready to consume. So I'm not going to be worried too much about the peelings. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do some lemon slices. Then I'm going to cut up some of my cayenne peppers. Next, I'm going to do some ginger. I'm going to do a few more orange slices. I'm going to stick some fresh rosemary down in there. And a couple more jalapeno peppers. Now that I have everything layered into my jar, it's time to add the apple cider vinegar, and we're going to add it all the way to the top until it covers everything. We'll put a piece of parchment paper down before our lid goes on because of the oxidation that could occur from the lid and the vinegar. So now your fire cider needs to sit in a cool, dark place for 4 to 6 weeks minimum. You can let it sit a lot longer if you want it to be a lot stronger, but let me just warn you, this is very pungent. Not only do you have the apple cider vinegar, which is very strong by itself, you also have the horseradish root and the jalapenos and the cayenne peppers, all of that mixed in there with it. So it's going to be quite pungent. Once your mixture is ready in a couple of months, you can strain out the solids, take the liquid, sweeten it with honey to your taste, and then store it in the refrigerator. And you can take it in a shot every morning while you're sick. You can take it preventatively before you get sick. It's totally up to you. You know, a tablespoon or so. And if you can't stomach it that way, you can add it to a little bit of juice in the morning or just plain water. I am not able to take traditional fire cider. It's very strong, especially if I'm not feeling well. I definitely don't want to take it. But I think I've come up with an idea that will allow me to take the medicine, so to speak, even when I'm not feeling well. Now for the fire cider with a twist. I'm going to be using the same ingredients. I am going to add a half of a red onion that I found in the refrigerator that I need to go ahead and use up. But essentially everything else is the same. So I'm going to go ahead and put those ingredients into my Ninja blender. Some orange slices along with some lemon slices. I am not peeling this. Most of your vitamins and minerals are going to be found in the peelings, and we want to leave that on there. Some jalapeno pepper. I'm also going to add just a few cayenne peppers in there. Some raw turmeric, some raw ginger, some raw horseradish, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and blend. Now I'm just going to strain the mixture. Now that we have our mixture blended together and then strained, this is my finished fire cider. But now I have to add the twist. And what I'm going to do now is stick it into my freeze dryer for the next day and a half or so and freeze dry this entire mixture. It is now the next morning and I am out in the apothecary. I wanted to check in on my fire cider that's been in the freeze dryer now for, well, a pretty long time. It's already gone into its extra dry time, so I'm going to go ahead and check on it, and if it's done, we'll complete the next step. So I'm back in my kitchen, and we're going to go ahead and get the next steps started with our freeze-dried fire cider. So if you'll remember, when I strained out the solids yesterday, I took the liquid and I put it in the freeze dryer. But I thought, why waste all the solids? So I ended up taking the solids and also putting them in a tray into the freeze dryer. Everything is completely dry. I'm going to go ahead and put these solids into my Ninja blender and grind them up just a little bit more fine, and then I'll mix it all together with the liquid that is now freeze dried, and then we'll go from there. You've probably guessed what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and make some capsules that we can take by mouth during cold and flu season. We can take it preventatively, and then we can also take it when we really get sick. Now, I like to use a smaller size capsule for these kinds of medicines just because when you're sick, not feeling well, you don't want to eat anything. You certainly don't want to swallow horse pills. So my equipment that I have here is from Herb Affair, and I'll try to leave a link down below for you. I am not sponsored by them, but I do highly recommend their products. I have my capsule bottoms here, and I'm going to go ahead and start placing them into the tray. Now, for the most part, they will set up on their own with a little bit of shaking of the apparatus here. Sometimes they need a little help. And this is the most tedious part of making your capsules. The rest of the steps are quite easy. Put my spill guard in place here and get ready to fill the capsules. Now we're just going to go ahead and fill our capsules. We're going to take our powder and we're going to spread it out across the top of the plate using a tool to coax it all into the capsules. And then we'll tamp it down if we have to, just to make sure we get them nice and full. Now we're going to set this aside and we're going to go ahead and get our caps ready. All that's left to do now is to put our capsules together, and that's where the magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and put the middle plate on and get ready to flip my capsules onto each other. I'm just going to store these in a pint-sized mason jar, and preventatively, if we wanted to take it every day during cold and flu season, we'll just take one capsule a day. And if we're sick, we're going to go ahead and take it twice a day. As I'm taking the capsules to put them in the jar, I like to go ahead and give them one final push. Make sure they're all together. I will add one more tip. If you don't have a freeze dryer, you can do this with a dehydrator, but be advised that when you dehydrate these herbs, they don't like heat, so you'll lose the majority of the medicinal benefits from the herbs themselves. If you want to learn more about medicinal herbs, I'm going to link a video for you right here. Some of the benefits that you'll find in your fire cider recipes, depending on the ingredients you use, are just phenomenal. You're going to have antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal. They're going to be high in antioxidants and anti-cancer. So there you have both recipes for fire cider for the upcoming cold and flu season. Which one are you going to make?